A small introduction. Was a social philosopher, leader, and important part of setting up something called Arya Samaj.
Are you sharing PPT? Yeah.
You are not able to see?
No.
Saraswati was a philosopher, social leader, and Arya Samaj reformer. He was the first, remember that, again coming back, he was the first person who called out for Swaraj, India for Indians in the year 1876, even before any of our political leaders who fought for it really thought about. And then later that call was taken by Lokmanya Tilak and others, including Gandhiji, who came into the forefront. Let's understand a little bit about Swamiji. Okay. As I said, he was an important Hindu religious leader of his time, founded Arya Samaj. What Arya Samaj today is something which we will be seeing in the year 1875. He was a very, very profound scholar of the Vedic lore. Just imagine, these are people who came with a rich tradition, having studied in the Veda Gurukul and Sanskrit language. So they were very, very thorough, strong people. He was, as I said, he was the first to give the call for Swaraj as Indians for Indians. President of India, S. Radhakrishnan, called him one of the makers of modern India. So that is the reason that in our topic also they have written brief survey of yoga in modern and contemporary times. Understand this, because tomorrow we all have to be teachers or evaluators, and we need to know why we are studying for what. Let's understand a little bit about, it's very important to know about every guru, what exactly, has gone through their life. They were also normal people like us, and why they did what they did. So Dayanand Saraswati was born on February 12th, 1824 in Tankara, Gujarat, as Mool Shankar to his parents Yashodabai and Karshanji Lalji Tiwari. Affluent, very rich family, influential Brahmin family, and they were following the Shiva tradition. The family being deeply religious, Mool Shankar was taught religious rituals, piety, purity, importance of fasting from a very early age. So he was brought up in the typical orthodox system which was prevailing in those days, very deeply rooted, very strong in the values. So what changed? If you look at most of the gurus, most of these people, there would have been some real, sudden changes. In his case, it was when he lost his sister at the age of 14. Immediately people start asking, even today we see something happens to somebody, will say, how come the good person has passed away? How come this happens to him? We don't understand why God is very unkind. If you look at the yoga Vashishta also, Sri Ram was asking all these kind of questions. What is the nature of this world? Why people suffer? What is the suffering? So for Mool Shankar also, at that 14 years is a very young age, these questions came about very strongly. And as you study yoga Vashishta, you will have all those questions coming in all the prakaranas. So then suddenly when the discussion came, typically those days people get married in 15, 16 years. And even today, many people, they think that if something is wrong, the son is lonely, the son is looking at, generally in India, the topic is that, okay, maybe something, getting him married will be a better option. So, they also thought about it, but then he felt, no, in his strong inside, there was an inner calling. He left his home so that he could avoid the marriage. He wandered all over the country for the next 20 years, visiting temples, shrines, holy places. It was a quest, it was a search. What am I? Why do I exist? Same thing you will find in Vivekananda, same thing you will find in Ramana Maharshi. This quest, who am I? Why do I exist? He met with yogis living in the mountain or forest, asked them of this dilemma. Nobody could provide him for the perfect answer. They say, in Upanishads, in Vedanta, they say, when the teacher is real, when the student is right and ready, then suddenly teachers will come from all sides. And in his case, also the same thing happened. He had a, personal qualities where he had a very good memory, By the time he was 14, he had learned by heart the Yajurveda, the scriptures, and the Upanishads because he came from the tradition. And his father was, seeing that, okay, now he is going to follow all the Shaiva tradition which the family is supposed to. Uh, and as he was wandering, he met in 1860, he met his guru, Swami Virajananda Dandisha. Now, it's very important. As at a young age, there is always an intellectual arrogance. People feel that I have studied this much, I know so many things. So after the guru met, the guru understood what is going on in his mind. The first thing guru said is that I want you to destroy all what you have brought in, all your academic qualification, all your certificates, everything you need to destroy it because information is not going to lead you to transformation. There is something else which will transform your information to something. That is where exactly the guru decided to work on him. And he destroyed all the certificates. He started spending more time. Virajananda inquired about why is object education and all those things. And it was Guru who changed his name into Rishi Dayananda. And then the life started changing for him. Now, very important, having studied all the systems, having gone through all the Vedic scriptures, having seen the practices of orthodox Brahmanity. Now, very important, orthodox Brahmanical tradition, untouchability, all those kinds were prevailing. And that is the time when he thought that the biggest problem lies not with any other religion, but within the way Hinduism is practiced. So that disturbed him a lot. And all his further movement till the end of his life was questioning that. He believed that Hinduism has been corrupted by divergence from the founding principles of the Vedas. Vedas, we say, are Shruti. The interpretation goes from person to person, generation to generation, and it started losing its real glory. So, and we know, we have seen that everywhere how this priest treat people. People have to move aside when they come in. You know, untouchability, that purity is not there for other communities. All those things are something which really disturbed Dayananda. As I said in the beginning, every reformer, every philosopher has come with a purpose which is much larger in nature, which is of a nationalistic, which is of a patriotic, which has a large, global kind of perspective. So he started, his objective was that let's start with Arya Samaj by having 10 principles as a code for universalism, which he called Krimanto Vishwaryam. With these principles, he intended the whole world to be an abode of for nobles, Aryas. These are some of his very, very famous words. To be compassionate is not a joke. It is not that simple. One has to discover. We should be centered on oneself, not in terms of money, not in terms of power you yield, not in terms of any status that you command in this society, but it should be centered on oneself. What, it's a deep level of, what we study in Patanjali on Sayam and all those things. So, very, very strongly one has to go internally. Now let's examine the 10 principles of Arya Samaj. Most of the time in exams we may come have questions on who's the person who has done Arya Samaj. What was the journal which was published by Dayanand? I think in our exam that was the only question came from Dayananda was what was the dash journal, which we'll come to know. Let's understand the 10 principles in a small way. Before that, a little bit about how Arya Samaj, where it was established. These are all general information, but once you learn for this, and one of the reason Vijay sir wanted me to come back and give this information is he wants to not just pass YCB level 3, he wants to see that whoever passes out from here are not only faculty but are cannot be shaken by their domain understanding. That is why, sorry, I asked the question, where does foundation of yoga come, what section and what chapter? Because passing exam is one aspect of it, but we need to go much more. The Arya Samaj was established on 7th April 1875 at Mumbai, India. The purpose was on moving the Hindu Dharma away from the fictitious belief, the wrong belief. Fictitious means the wrong belief, and back to the teaching of the pristine, pure, glorious Veda. The goal of Arya Samaj has always been, as we saw, Kritavantya Vishyam Arya. That is to make this world noble, make this world pure. The word Arya means a noble human being, one who's thoughtful and charitable, who thinks good acts and does good actions. He or she is an Arya. Very clearly defined. Very clearly defined. It is our Karma Yoga. It is exactly what later sages people said about the, Madhava Seva is nothing but Manava Seva. And what kind of Manava? Unless your thoughts, your actions, and your mind is purified, you will never be able to deliver that. So Swami Dayanandji's teaching became more and more effective and his followers grew. After the creation of the first Arya Samaj in Mumbai in 1875, others began to be formed wherever Swamiji went. See the power, see the influence, and see the need. People felt the need. That is why they got influence. That is why they were ready to do anything for him. So the purpose was much, much larger, like what Gandhiji, when he said independence. Okay, immediately people formed because they found this is much, much more we are losing. Same thing, Dayanandji was able to do that. Arya Samaj grew in fivefold. End of it, we will see where all it has reached. When there were enough Samajas all over the country, they were brought under central. Now, see, it's very easy to build, but to institutionalize and see those practices and values are followed is the biggest challenge. Many a time people decide beyond a level I do not want to grow because I lose my control. So it was very important for them to think that if you do not put that control, tomorrow it can become a let loose where everybody can come and play around. So he was very, very particular. Today, the Arya Samaj organization is alive and sound in all parts of the body. Australia, among various Samaj organizations, the Vedic Pradinidhi Sabha and Arya Samaj of Australia is incorporated in doing marvelous work. Fantastic work they are doing. Just to understand what exactly is deep inside him. When one Arya is alone, he should do self-reading. Again, Swadhyaya. When two, they should discuss and ask questions, answer within themselves. When more than two, then they should do satsang and read any chapter of Vedas. He did not want it to be an association where people gather, talk, argue. He wanted to be very, very strong on the Vedic foundation. So Veda, 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 that is, something which he always felt. What all happened in his life? Before marriage, he ran away. However, he was engaged in 1846. In 1869, he won a debate against 27 pundits and 12 experts, which was one of the historic movement where people really understood the depth of Dayananda Saraswati. This was little before, maybe 7, 8 years before Arya Samaj was formed. In 1876, the first Indian, which we know, to call Swaraj, India for Indians. Some of the very important statements he made. I have not come to preach new dogmas or religion, not to establish a new order, because he felt everything is there here, not to proclaim a new messiah or pontiff. I'm not like a messenger who has come, a prophet who has come to say something. I am only telling that Veda is clearly giving you the light. Everything which you want, the answers are in our Vedas. So this was one of the, fundamental beliefs which he felt that I need to keep the glory of Vedas. Maharshi, when little more about when he spoke, uh, he said Smritis. Why Vedas? He said Smritis and Puranas misled people in such practices as untouchability. It is not the original Smritis. It is the way it was interpreted. So he said primary responsibility for reviving. Our job is now to bring back those real thing what Vedas spoke. Our Vedas are the earliest book. Hinduism is the most ancient of all religions that survived. Now, just imagine institutional building. Maharshi Dayananda University, Rohtak, Haryana. Maharshi Dayananda Saraswati University, Ajmer, Rajasthan. DAV. I'm sure people who are in Mumbai, Navi Mumbai, or any other place do not require any introduction about the DAV schools and colleges. Uh, then Maharshi Dayanand Science College donated it to the education of Porbandar after naming it after Dayanand Saraswati. Now, towards end of his life. There were a lot of things which literally happened, very untoward incidences happened. There were occasions when he tried to tell this, it has antagonized a lot of other religions. There were problems with the uh, Islam community. There were problem with Christian community because see, his objective was very clear. I need to bring the humanness in human being, understand that value, worth, which is more important for me. So there were a lot of controversies. He passed away on 30th October, chanting mantras, and how he passed away also we will tell. Dayanand Sarswati breath is last at Binai Koti near Ajmer. His ashes were scattered at Ajmer in Rishi Udyan. Just a summary. Date of birth, remember all that, February 12, 1824. So just remember like that. Another 3 years, it will be 100 years, 200 years, whatever. Okay, calculate. Uh, Place we have seen, parents we have seen, education, self-taught because after 14 years he went out of his home. Arya Samaj, Shuddhi movement, back to Vedas, religious views, Hinduism. Now remember, this was a question which came to us. Which was the publication? Which dash? Which guru? And the answer was Satyartha Prakash. This was a question which came for our exam in the month of January. So these things are very important. And we will be leaving the PPT. Whomsoever wants to note down all those things can note down. Death October 13, 1883. We said Diwali time. Place of death Ajmer, Rajasthan. For whomsoever is interested to read, there are enough books, major books. Sometimes these 3, 4 books you read, no, you will know in and out. And tomorrow, if somebody is asking you to give a 2 hour lecture on Swami Dayanand, that's the purpose. Somebody studies under Vijay sir should be called to say that deliver a 2 hour lecture on modern guru. If you read this only 1, 2, 3, 4 books, nobody will be able to shake you, and people will ask, how come you know so much? But that is up to you. You want to take it up further. The references, these are the references. So one wants to go back and check more information, one can do that. A little bit when I said about his death, in fact, he was actually advisor to a king in Rajasthan. And this king used to have a Mujra dancer who used to be in his king's palace, and they had a kind of not so good healthy relationship. Dayanand Saraswati wanted to ensure that the king is out of this affair or whatever one can call it, and the king was ready. However, this female took it very seriously. In fact, she took control of the cook who used to make food for Dayanand Saraswati and poisoned. A typical kind of glass was crushed, and Dayanandji was given this kind of thing in the milk for few days. The poison glass pieces went into his throat, and in few days' time he was about to die. However, he came to know when the cook came and confessed. So what he did, he told the cook, "You do one thing. I am forgiving you, but you need to go out of this place and escape from this place." Later stage, the cook was caught and he was imprisoned and he was, capital punishment. So that was the way Dayanand Saraswati passed away, his life. So this information is there. I thought, why, as you read, you get to know and you will say, in our class, this discussion did not come. So this is a little bit about Dayanand Saraswati. Uh, any questions? Any questions?